In 1984, when Diane Dixon was winning the second of her 9 consecutive 400 meters, a young athlete by the name of Carl Lewis was putting his name in the record books as well.
And the record came on Lewis's last jump in that competition. He needed to get a big jump to beat Larry Myrick. He came up with the big one, 28.10 1/4.
And here we are in 1992, Carl Lewis's first jump of the competition.
Lewis sits back a little bit in his landing. I talked with Tom Tellez, his coach. He said Carl has worked harder this fall than any fall in recent memory. This in spite of the fact that he's had more calls for more interviews, for more endorsements than ever before. 6 Olympic gold medals Carl Lewis has won. And of course 2 Olympic gold medals in this event, the long jump. And one of the things that he and his coach both say he wants to work on is improving this event. And why? Because last summer he lost for the first time in some 10 years to a man by the name of Mike Powell. Powell also busy doing a lot for the sport, out doing benefit events just as Carl does, and neither of them has really had a chance to perfect their long jumping indoors at this point. But 26.1 3/4 for the opening round mark for Carl Lewis.
Now we will watch Carl Lewis, who is on the long jump for round 2.
Carl, the greatest long jumper in history. Here is second attempt. A little bit tentative on the runway for Lewis, and Lewis dropped out of a final of a 60 meters event in Glasgow, Scotland just 3 weeks ago because of muscle soreness and tightness. Wanted to get ready for this meet, didn't want to endanger his fitness, and he maintains the lead in the long jump. Third jump in the competition. Lewis has the leading mark in the world this year indoors, 27.10 1/4. And that's a little bit better than his first 2-round jumps, 26.1 3/4 in the early rounds, now 26.8 1/4 in the third round. Set his leading mark in Stockholm of 27.10 1/4 for the season. Carl Lewis, after that great competition with Mike Powell at the World Championship, says he will jump 30 feet this year. Powell, of course, eclipsing the world record of Bob Beamon with his 29.4 1/2 in Tokyo.
Here now we look at Carl Lewis, 5th attempt.
Getting ready for his 5th attempt is Carl Lewis. Had a very poor 4th attempt, 25.10 3/4. And this is much better for Lewis. Really his first good jump of the evening. And I saw him talking with his coaches, thinking about how to make some adjustments after that 4th round jump. And here, still a little questionable up in the air. He's such a great technician that Carl, his coaches say, is like a computer. If he makes a mistake, you tell him what the error is, and then he immediately makes an adjustment in the next jump.
Now let's go back to the long jump, where Carl Lewis, with his 6th and final round.
Not the best evening of long jumping in Carl Lewis's storied long jumping history, 27 feet 3/4 of an inch. His best jump so far. By far his best jump, faster on the runway, more confident as he came up to the board, and much better extension. Lewis said that last year he played a little bit of Russian roulette by not competing enough in the long jump during the regular season. He got to the World Championships, had his best jumping ever, but lost to Mike Powell. Here you see his action and extension much better. A little bit better of a landing, still could have been a little more forward on that jump, but 27.4 3/4. He closes out with his best jump of the evening in first place. Joe Green had a long foul, but only finishes second. Llewellyn Starks finishes third.
So the streak continues. Carl Lewis hasn't lost an indoor meet in 11 years.
Carl Lewis, 27.4 3/4. Does that fit in the great scheme of things to you?
Well, I would always like to jump farther, but this isn't an easy place to jump in. It's very crowded for me, and I haven't jumped much indoors. But that's what everyone has to compete in, the same conditions. So I was very pleased to work some things out. This time last year, I didn't have any competitions, and I used this kind of meet in June. So just having this meet now is very important, and I'm just glad to be back at the Nationals.
I have to ask you, did you watch the Winter Olympics? Did it get the juices moving in you?
Well, I did watch it, and of course I'm a fan just like everybody else. I cheered on a lot of Americans, and a lot of friends of mine that came over during that 2-week period were bored to death because that's all that was on my television set. So
Make you think about Barcelona a little bit?
Well, a little bit, but we have a lot to think about, and what's great for me is that I've been to 2 Olympic Games, and I know what to expect, what to look forward to, and how to pace myself at the same time.
I want to know if I was hearing things. A couple of weeks ago, you said the 100 and the relay were definite, but that there was a toss-up between the 200 and a long jump. I find that almost impossible to believe that you, the most consistent, the best long jumper in history, would consider passing up the long jump in Barcelona, yes?
Well, that's a possibility. My main objective, though, before I retire, I feel that I can jump a lot farther, and if I can achieve that particular goal and enable myself to run in the Olympics in the 200, which is a very competitive event as well, that's a possibility. I'm not giving any definites or anything, and that's something I cannot answer until July, but I'm leaving all options open.
Because there is some unfinished business with Mike Powell in the record, right?
Oh, I definitely feel I can jump farther, and Mike had a tremendous performance last year, and he's helped inspire the entire event. But I feel that until I reach my goals or my potential, I will not stop the event. So if I don't feel I've reached my potential, well, then there's no question I'll be there jumping.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
No athlete other than himself has ever come close within a foot of Carl Lewis's indoor record.